Alright, to quickly set the scene, I will recap where we are along the Yandhi through Donda timeline of Kanye music. The version of Donda Kanye intended to drop on New Year's Day comes after the version that was intended to drop on Election Day, but before April Donda, which we now know had its name changed from Donda to Spirits Over the Horizon. From a broad view, it does appear to be the final evolution of Donda 2020 before it was completely reworked during April 2021. According to credible sources that will remain anonymous, New Year's Donda was supposedly fully finished and fully intended to drop. Not much is known about why it did not drop, as the period of January to April of 2021 is a little lacking in information. These sources also confirmed via Discord that this was the actual track list of New Year's Donda. So I thought I would go through song by song and try to paint an accurate picture of what the album might have sounded like. I'm doing this using versions of the New Year's tracklist songs from the time period documented on the Kanye leak tracker that will be linked in the description.
Please welcome Dr. Donda West.
To start, we have South Carolina, which would eventually be released to the public as the title track of official streaming August 2021 Donda. Basically, the only thing we know is that this is the first appearance of South Carolina on pretty much any Donda related track list. Other than that, we don't know anything else.
Even if you are not ready for the day, it cannot always be night.
Next, we have Praise God, which was probably similar to Praise God version 4, which has a file date of December 22nd, 2020. New Year's Praise God would have included the Donda West intro and Travis Scott feature from the released version, but with a Pusha T reference verse in place of Kanye. This also would not have had the Baby Keem feature that is on the released version. Other than that, for some reason, it has no drums. New Year's Off the Grid would have likely been some form of Off the Grid version 4, which has the same file date as New Year's Praise God of December 22nd, 2020. This is the first known appearance of the Playboy Cardi feature that would end up on the released version due to Kanye and Cardi working on Whole Lotta Red around this time, as well as just generally being around each other at this time of the year.
See this in 3D, all lights out for me.
Next is Hurricane, which is most likely Hurricane version 19, which was reportedly worked on and finished in December of 2020. This would have had the original Hurricane Wave Runner verse,
Drop the wave runners, now we run the waves,
with an unknown artist providing a single punch-in vocal line. This also would have included the original Kanye vocoder hook, Lil Baby verse, and Casey bridge.
I know you want, I know that you look over us,
with background vocals from Stallone. While there are reports that I Feel Terrific was worked on for an April 2021 version of Donda, no information about a potential older version for New Year's Donda has surfaced, and that is really all we know. It's definitely one of the more hidden tracks from New Year's Donda, although it was co-written by Sean Leon. New Year's Believe What I Say is likely Believe What I Say version 3, as a credible source claims to have this version of the song and says it is from early 2021. Version 3 would have featured Sunday service choir performing the chorus with punch-in vocals, and the rest of the song provided by Dem Joints for Kanye, with Dem Joints also responsible for producing the track.
Keep my spirit alive.
New Year's Keep My Spirit Alive must have been somewhere between Keep My Spirit Alive versions 4, 5, 6, and 7. Version 4 and 5 used the original Keep My Spirit Alive sample, which was repurposed for South Carolina. So the New Year's Keep My Spirit Alive probably had the sample that would eventually release on streaming. It is unknown if New Year's Keep My Spirit Alive would have featured Conway the Machine and or Westside Gunn.
I inhaled and breathed.
Unknown if this is linked to God Breath from streaming Donda, as there is really little to no information about it besides the name Breathe on New Year's Donda tracklist.
listen. What a vision, wonderful vision, what a vision.
New Year's 24 could possibly have been similar to 24 version 4 or 5. No Kanye vocals appear on any version of 24 until well into Donda Summer 2021 era, so this version would have been strictly Casey and Sunday Service Choir. It also likely did not have the drums produced by 808 Mello, but this one is a little shady as we're not entirely sure what specific date his drums were removed from the song or put back in.
Purpose and attention, extensions of the King of Kings. So
I will always follow your lead.
Soda Cup exclusive.
This is a song nearing the end of its life on Kanye's album tracklist at this point, after it was created for God's Country in early 2020. Unfortunately, all we have are snippets, but from what is known, it would have been something between the version 4 intended for Donda 2020 and version 5 for Spirits Over the Horizon era April 2021. New Year's in God's Country would have had features from Justin Bieber and Common, although no snippets of Bieber's feature have leaked yet. He was confirmed to have worked with Kanye during this time from various pictures and reports of him at the ranch with Kanye.
Wrap your arms around with your mercy.
New Year's Lord, I Need You is definitely one of the more interesting potential New Year's track versions, as it would have included both St. John and Sunday Service Choir on the chorus, and potentially some involvement from Pusha T. Lord, I Need You version 7 is likely where this version would have came from due to it being dated December of 2020 and having a reference verse from Pusha, which was probably meant for Kanye, but unclear if he also would have had a vocals or a verse in the song. As of right now, we only have a snippet of Lord I Need You version 7, so kind of hard for us to paint an accurate New Year's picture of this track.
This is progress, oh yeah. This for the projects.
Very, very little information regarding this track has surfaced, as the one and only appearance came as a snippet of the chorus performed by Casey from the Dame Dash Donda 2020 documentary. Besides that, this song is most likely forever lost, as Casey has tweeted that he does not want to use the beat after Kanye removed his Keep My Spirit Alive feature from Donda streaming. Unknown if New Year's God's Test included any Kanye at all, really.
I could not take another ounce on a photograph.
New Year's Future Sounds / Future Bounce appears to have actually been decently finished or close to being finished, as Future Sounds version 9 is our most likely suspect for this track. Version 9 was made on November 5th, 2020 and features Travis Scott, Victory Boyd, and Kanye, with less echo on vocals and a better mix overall.
Life of the party. I almost had.
Most likely to be similar to Life of the Party V2, which is dated to around 2020 Donda time, but would probably have had different lyrics than the released version. And it is really unknown if Andre 3000 had any involvement at the time of New Year's Life of the Party, as he would end up as a feature on the released version.
This is the glory, this is the glory, this is the victory, this is the majesty, y'all paint the tapestry.
This one is probably similar to the version of This Is the Glory playing in a snippet from Kim's birthday event in October of 2020 due to the timelines overlapping. This could have been the same as the file Kanye attempted to tweet on September 16th, but we'll never know, as he was a complete boomer and couldn't figure out how to tweet the song and not just the file name.
City of Los Angeles.
This is a perplexing one, as City of Lost Angels appears to be its own separate song, but features bits and pieces from various past versions of Hurricane. Reported to use Kanye vocoder hook and Wave Runner verse from Yandhi versions of Hurricane, but on a different beat along with some unheard lines. This is a very early version of City of Lost Angels, as it would go on to survive New Year's Donda and be worked on further by Don Toliver and Kanye during Spirits Over the Horizon April 2021 era. Basically nothing is known about this besides that it is not the same as We Made It from Release Donda, aka Tell the Vision from 2021's Faith by Pop Smoke. Precious, aka Stay On 'Em, that was worked on extensively at Kanye's Wyoming ranch during summer of 2020 Donda sessions, appears on the New Year's Donda tracklist, but it is largely unknown how much different it would have been compared to the snippet-only version we have ever heard from 2020. Based on the little info we had from the 2020 version, this would have still sampled James Blake's 2020 track, You Are Too Precious, with unfinished Kanye vocals and small vocal punch-ins by Dem Joints.
My cousin grew up in Tulsa, came to visit me in Oklahoma.
Rounding out the New Year's Donda tracklist is Tulsa, which would probably have been more developed than its original version from pre-Donda 2020 era album God's Country. Original unfinished early 2020 version features vocals from Kanye rapping about death row inmate Rodney Reed. In retrospect, it is probably for the best Kanye decided to pull the New Year's Donda release date, as it has become apparent a large amount of these tracks were either possibly worked on from their original versions or not worked on at all, based on what we know. Regardless, the concept of New Year's Donda being basically the final evolution of all 2020 Donda versions before it went through major changes and reworks is intriguing. Hopefully in the future we get more information about New Year's Donda, but for now, I think this video is probably the closest we could get to an era-accurate recreation until more information comes out. I really hope you guys enjoyed me exploring this topic and going through each song to see what it might sound like for New Year's Donda. Make sure to leave a like or subscribe if you liked the video, and drop a comment telling me which New Year's Donda song you are most interested in.